Hello, these are some notes to help you as you are studying for your Chapter 3 test in Intermediate Algebra. So let's do a system of equations and solve it by graphing. So if you look at those two equations, you can put them onto a graph by looking at the first equation. And in the first equation, if I plug in a 3 for x and I plug in a 0 for y, then I would have 3 minus 0, which equals 3. So that means the point 3, 0, which, by the way, 3, 0 is right here. That point is on the line of that equation. And then let's think of another possible point. So if I plugged in a 0 for x and a negative 3 for y, then you'd have 0 minus negative 3, and 0 minus negative 3 is equal to positive 3. So that's also true. So that means that the point 0, negative 3, in other words, x is 0 and y is negative 3, that point is also a point on that equation of that line. So 0, negative 3 is down here. So if I draw that line, it looks like that. Then the second line. So think of a very simple pair of numbers that equals 5. So how about 5 plus 0? If I plug in 5 for x and 0 for y, 5 plus 0 equals 5. So the point 5, 0 is a point on the second line. So 5, 0 is right there. Now think of another combination of points that's on the second line. How about if I let x be 0 and I let y be 5? So 0 plus 5 equals 5. So if I plug in 0 for x and 5 for y, then that's also on that line. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There is the point 0, 5. So this line goes up like this. Now, what we need to do is find out where that line crosses the other line. So if you look carefully, you'll see that the lines cross each other right there, which the crossing point is going to be equal to 4 and 1. The x value is 4 and the y value is 1. So the solution set where the lines cross each other is 4, 1. That's how you do problem number 1. Then in problem 2, you have another set of equations. 5x plus 4y equals 3, and then x equals y plus 6. So it's a lot of work sometimes to make a graph. And it's also hard to find sometimes where the point on the graph of one line touches the point on the graph of the other line. So another way of doing it is if you know x or y, so in this equation I know x equals 4, what equals y plus 6, then that means you also know the x that's in the other equation. So I can take the 5x, but I know x is really y plus 6. And then you keep the 4y and you keep the equals and you keep the 3. Then you distribute this 5, so you have 5y plus 30 plus 4y equals 3. So 5y plus 4y equals 9y. So you get 9y plus 30 equals 3. Then you'll subtract 30 from both sides. Then you'll get 9y equals negative 27. Then you'll divide by 9. And then you'll get y equals negative 3. Now that's only part of the answer because now you know what y is, so you have to go back and plug the y that you know into that y. So x would equal y plus 6 again. But this time, instead of saying y plus 6, we know that the y is actually negative 3. So that means x equals negative 3 plus 6. And negative 3 plus 6 is positive 3. So you get x equals positive 3. Then you put the x first and the y next. So you get the solution together is the ordered pair, 3, negative 3, with the parentheses around them and the comma between them. And then now let's try to do problem 3. So problem 3 says 3x minus 5y equals negative 2. And then 2x minus 6y equals negative 12. We're going to do this one by the addition method. So we have to get the x's to be opposites. So you see this 3x and the 2x. Who knows what the least common multiple of 3 and 2 is? It would be 6, right? So what I need to do is multiply this top equation by something that would make the 3x become 6x. So to do that, I'll multiply it by 2. Then I'll get 6x minus 10y equals negative 4. But then I need to get the bottom x to be the opposite of the least common multiple. So how can I make this bottom 2x become the opposite of 6x? So in other words, negative 6x. So in order to make 2x into negative 6, I could multiply it by negative 3. So then if I multiply the bottom equation by negative 3, I will get negative 6x positive 18y equals 36. Now I've done the addition method, so the next step is adding it together. So 6x plus negative 6x is nothing. Negative 10y plus 18y leaves us with 8y. And then negative 4 plus 36 leaves us with 32. Then you divide by 8, and you get y by itself. So 32 divided by 8 equals 4. Now once you know that y equals 4, then you have to go back to one of the equations. It doesn't matter which one, as long as it has a y in it and an x in it. So they all do. So let's use the second equation. The second equation is 2x minus 6y equals negative 12, right? So I'm going to use that equation, but I'm going to plug in for the y, I'm going to plug in 4, you see. So it'll be 2x minus 6 times 4 equals negative 12. It'll be 2x minus 24 equals negative 12. Then add 24 to both sides. So 2x equals 12, divide by 2. So x equals 6. So then the solution is both of them together, starting with x in parentheses. So it's 6 comma 4. That would be the solution to the problem. All right, now let's try problem 4. So this says x equals 4y plus 9. And then it says negative 3x plus 12y equals negative 27. So it says solve this by the method of your choice. But we already know what x equals 4y plus 9. So you see, we can just take what we know it equals and plug it in down to that x. So that means I can erase this x and change that x to be what x is, which is 4y plus 9. Then you keep the plus 12y after that. So if I distribute this negative 3, I'll get negative 12y, and then negative 3 times 9 is negative 27, plus 12y equals negative 27. So then I'll add 27 to both sides to try to get the y by itself. And then I'll get 0 on the right side. And then I'll add together the negative 12y plus the 12y, which is 0. So since negative 12y plus 12y is 0, we ended up with 0 equals 0. And 0 equals 0 is always true an infinite number of times. So that means there are infinitely many solutions. So there's infinitely many solutions. So that's your answer to that problem. Okay, then problem number 5. It says that a computer sold computers plus hard drives. So I'm going to say C is computers and H is hard drives. It sold 36 of them total. And the computers were $1,180 each. So 1,180 times C. And the hard drives were $125 each. So 125 times H. And the money they sold from them, the revenue was 22435. So we get that equation. Now we'll simplify that problem by dividing by 5. So if I divide 1180 by 5, so I'm going to divide everything by 5, then I'll get 236C. If I divide 125 by 5, I'll get 25H. If I divide 22,435 divided by 5, then I'll get 4487. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take the equation C plus H equals 36, and I'm going to multiply that times negative 25. So if I do that, then I'll get negative 25C, negative 25H, and then 36 times 25. Okay, so that would be equal to negative 900. Then I'm going to use the addition method now. So if I do 236C minus 25C, then I would get 211C. Then 25H minus 25H is nothing. And then 4487 minus 900 is 3587. So then I'll divide both sides by 211. 3587 divided by 211, that equals 17. So if I divide by 211, I'll get C equals 17. Now, remember, the original equation said that C plus H equals 36, but I know that C is 17. So 17 plus H equals 36. So then I'll subtract the 17, and I'll get H equals 36 minus 17, that would be 19. So H equals 19. So the answer to the problem is that they sold 17 computers and they sold 19 hard drives. Okay, now problem number, and that was problem number 5. So let's do problem number 6. So you invested $4,000 into 2 accounts. One account was paying 5% interest, and you put money into it, but you don't know how much money you put in, right? So you put in X, I'll say, into that one. And then you had another bank account that had 6% interest, and you put the rest of the money in that one. So the rest of the money would be 4,000 minus X, right? And then it says the total interest earned for the year was not $4,000 anymore. It was an interest of $210. So $210 of interest is what you earned. So that means if you take your 5% as a decimal, which is 0.05, you multiply that interest by the amount of money that was in that bank account, and then you add on 6% interest multiplied by the amount of money that was in the other bank account, which is 4,000 minus X. Then the total amount of money of interest that you get equals $210. So now to simplify it, I'm going to multiply everything times, let's see, times 100. So if I multiply by 100, then I'll get 5x plus 6 times 4,000 minus x equals 21000. Now let me distribute to 6. So I'll get 24 with 3 zeros after it, minus 6x, and then 5x, and then equals 21,000. Then combine together the 5x minus the 6x, which is negative x, plus 24,000 equals 21,000. Then subtract 24,000 from both sides. And then you're left with negative x equals negative 3,000. But of course, if negative x equals negative 3,000, then that means x really equals positive 3,000. So we know that the x equals $3,000. So you had $3,000 invested in the bank account that was paying you 5% interest. So $3,000 at 5% interest. But then if you had $4,000 total, then how much would be invested at 6% interest? Well, 6% interest, remember that's $4,000 minus x, which is x is $3,000. So what's 4,000 minus 3,000 is $1,000. So that means you would have had $1,000 invested at 6% interest. So the second answer is $1,000. Then let's go ahead and do problem 7. So problem 7 says that so remember, rate times time equals distance. So a boat's crew rowed 18 miles downstream, so 18 miles downstream with the current. So with the current, so the rate, if you're traveling with the current, hold on, let me put the distance on the right side. So if you're traveling with the current, then the rate with the current is equal to the speed of the boat plus the speed of the current. And it said it took you a time of 2 hours. So the rate of the boat plus the current times a time of 2 hours equals a distance of 18. Then you traveled upstream. So when you travel upstream, the rate would be the speed of the boat minus the speed of the current. And when you traveled upstream, it took 4.5 hours to go the same distance of 18 miles. So let's solve this problem now. The first step is divide this equation by 2. So then you'll get b plus c by itself equals 9. Then divide this equation by 4.5. So then you'll get b minus c equals 4. Then you see you can add those equations together. So I can take this equation plus this equation. So you have b plus c equals 9 added together with b minus c equals 4. And then you add them up. So b plus b is 2b, c minus c is 0, 9 plus 4 is 13. So you divide by 2, and you get the boat is 13 halves, which in other words is 6.5. So the speed of the boat is 6.5 miles per hour. Then you can plug that into let's say this equation, and plug that into that equation to find the speed of the current, because we know the boat plus the current equals 9. So 6.5 is the boat plus the current equals 9. Subtract 6.5 from both sides. Then you're left with the current equals 2.5. So the speed of the current is 2.5. Now, let's try to do problem number 8. So problem number 8 on your chapter 3 test is going to be something like this. It says cost equals 24,000 plus 45x. And then it says revenue, which is the money you make, is 47x. So profit is equal to the money that you get, revenue, minus the money that you spend, which is the cost. So the profit equals the 47x minus the 24,000 plus the 45x. So the profit equals, let me distribute this negative, so 47x minus 24,000, and then negative times 45x is negative 45x. So the only profit that's left is 47x minus 45x is 2x minus 24,000. So the profit function is 2x minus 24,000. And then you find the profit of selling 25,000 radios. That's just such a big number, it's hard to wrap my mind around. So if you sold 25,000 radios, that would be called P of 25,000. So you just plug 25,000 into the formula. So it'll be 2 times 25,000 minus 24,000. So that equals 50,000 minus 24,000, which equals 26,000. So they make $26,000 of profit from selling 25,000 radios. So that's barely even $1 of profit for each radio. So that's the last one for your review, for helping you in the Chapter 3 test. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you very much.